All right, y'all. So, Trump he really is in trouble, man. And I don't know why more people aren't talking about this. Well, actually, that's not true. I do know why people aren't talking about this, because they're so used to, the media used to harp away on this nonstop and say, the walls are closing in on Trump. He's on borrowed time, and then he would, get away scot-free. But I think things are different, and the conventional wisdom has now flipped to Teflon Don being Teflon forever, and that's just, the evidence is piling up that that's not the case. So we already know that in New York, Letitia James went after Trump, trying to get a $2 million fine from him. She listed just a plethora of crimes that he committed through the Trump Organization: tax fraud, bank fraud, insurance fraud, you name it. And not only that, she also recommended criminal charges to the feds on very specific issues where she has a mountain of evidence. So that was the beginning of okay, is this actually the downfall? Well, the most likely scenario, guys, is actually this. Not even that any of these cases bring criminal charges, which then makes it so that he's in prison or whatever and can't really run for office, or certainly can't win, which, by the way, that's possible. But the more likely scenario is you make him so incredibly politically toxic that even if he wins the primary, which is a big if, there's just no way he wins the general. So look at this poll. Look at the facts that are laid out here. This is stunning, and this is a first that we've seen in the era of Trump. Most registered voters say Trump shouldn't be allowed to serve a second term, says new poll. Most Americans say that former President Trump should not be allowed to serve another term in the White House in the near future, according to a new Yahoo News YouGov poll. With several investigations into Trump's conduct ramping up, 51% of registered voters say the allegations of wrongdoing are enough to preclude the former president from launching another campaign. In comparison, just 35% of respondents believe that he should be able to run again. The poll was conducted immediately after New York Attorney General Letitia James filed a sweeping $250 million lawsuit against Trump, his family business, and 3 of his children, alleging that they used false financial statements to mislead investors. The lawsuit was only the latest in a series of mounting legal threats for Trump, which has openly floated the possibility of running for the White House in 2024. He's also facing a federal investigation into his removal of sensitive documents from the White House, as well as criminal investigation in Georgia, focusing on his and his allies' attempts to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election in the state. The latest Yahoo News YouGov poll suggests that Trump's legal challenges may be catching up to him politically, even if he hasn't been formally charged or convicted of a crime. Still, there's some evidence that he remains a potent political force. The poll found in a hypothetical 2024 matchup against President Biden, Trump trails by only 2 percentage points. That's down from a 6-point lead for Biden in a previous Yahoo News YouGov poll. But in another sign of potential weakness for Trump, fewer than half of Republican and GOP-leaning voters say they support him for the 2024 Republican presidential nomination, while 36% say they will back somebody else for the party's nod. 17% are unsure. Okay, guys. See, this is what I was talking about. And Crystal and I had this debate in the wake of learning that Trump is under federal investigation for everything he did with those documents. My claim was, even if you see a temporary increase in support in the polls, in the long run, being under Department of Justice or FBI investigation, having all these lawsuits against you, it is not a political benefit. We saw what happened when Hillary was under FBI investigation for a year and a half or 2 years. It massively hurt her. Because the general inclination, the instinct people have is, where there's smoke, there's fire. I don't know, man. What'd you do? Why are they investigating you? The idea everybody's just going to go, yeah, witch hunt or whatever. No, his most hardcore supporters will say that, but that number has dwindled more and more and more and more over time. So yes, the ones that remain are super cult-like, but the idea you're going to win a majority in this environment, the idea you're going to get independents on your side, with this being the scenario, it's not happening. So now, look, I think for the first time, certainly the first time I can recall, fewer than half of Republican and GOP-leaning voters say they support Trump for the 2024 Republican presidential nomination. Fewer than half. Now, the rebuttal to this is, and it's a fair rebuttal, hey, he may have a plurality, but it's still more than anybody else, right? Fair enough, man. Willing to concede that that's That's a real issue. That does mean he is most likely of anybody to become the next Republican candidate. But having said that, the trends are clear. Because now you have a whole group of people who have this position. Look, I like Trump. I might even love Trump, but he's just too toxic. There's no way we could win again with him. That's a thing now. We saw that Fox News video, that compilation video where people were saying exactly that. You could say, hey, that was cherry-picked. That's all true. That's all fine and dandy. But again, for the first time ever, we talked about the poll that came out of Florida. Trump has been clipped by another Republican candidate for the first time since the era of Trump. DeSantis had 48% in the poll. Trump had 40% in the poll. DeSantis is leading Donald Trump in Florida. So that matters. That means something. The trends are crystal clear. Now less than 50% support Trump. The idea of Teflon Don, at this point, is a fantasy. And when you're under like 6 different investigations, one of them is already proceeding, and they seem to have him dead to rights on that front, where he's probably going to have to pay that $250 million. You have the Georgia investigation, which is moving forward. You have the investigations from January 6th, the investigation for the stolen documents. Horrendous defense he's mounting on that front. At the very least, he ain't winning a general election again. He might win a primary, Republican primary, he ain't winning a general election. But now it's even starting to look questionable in terms of winning the Republican primary. Because DeSantis' trajectory is clear, as is Trump's. And by the way, that's why he's low-key furious behind the scenes, and he's starting to throw the first punches against DeSantis. So, look, mark the date. Mark the date on the calendar. Because this is the first time I've seen Trump drop below 50% in a Republican primary since the era of Donald Trump. And even though you did see a temporary increase in support when the initial investigation happened by the FBI, in the long run, that shit is going down. That shit is going down. And I just want to note that I'm one of the first to make this argument. Because now, again, the conventional wisdom in mainstream media, even among the rest of new media, is, he'll weather it, no big deal, whatever. Maybe he'd be able to get, weather it if it was one investigation or 2, but like 5, 6, the ball already moving on a lot of them. The rise of DeSantis, slipping in the polls massively, just becoming generally too toxic, fully embracing QAnon. I mean, he had a long run, but that run does appear to be coming to an end. I'm not going to pound the gavel just yet, but I'm close, man. I am close. So I'll let you know when I do pound that gavel. If you want to see me and Crystal Ball interview legends like Noam Chomsky, Cornel West, and more, subscribe to Crystal Kyle and Friends on Substack. $5 a month gets you the video version a day early. Remember, we take 0 ad dollars for this podcast. Or you can sign up on Substack for free and get the audio version a day later. Link in the video description box below.